like I just swallowed heaven. Welcome back to Talking About the Taboo with Natalie Malloy. Happy fucking New Year. You see that guy on TikTok, like, and a fucking date. He goes on dates and never mind. Anyways, if you know, you know. Well, happy fucking New Year. Welcome back. As you can see, if you're watching me on YouTube, I have a whole new setup. I want to thank Jessie Day, one of my really good friends, for finally getting me an arm for my microphone that my friend Evan got for me. And now I have another mic because the arm came with a microphone. Okay. And then I was like, wait, now I can have guests on and have the microphone that they don't have. They just use their computer microphone. They can have their own microphone. It could be a whole thing. But again, I don't have a studio. This is my bedroom. So we make it work for how it works. Like in the back right now, you see my paint because I'm doing a paint by number right now. It is what it is. It's the scene's going to look lived in because I am living in it. There's the sign, by the way, back there. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, it's always better on YouTube. Trust me. So I want to thank her for that. This year, wow. Like you can tell that I'm a little bit like outspoken in my own words regarding what this year has to bring. I started really just thinking hard at the end of the year, even like Thanksgiving time. And I just have so many goals for myself and I like set like that timer on it. But like, honestly, in like using the background that I know, I remember taking a class called Human Motivation and Emotion, and that required you to sometimes write things down and check them off, even if you've done them already. So that's like something that I was like, let me start making a list. So I'm reaching into my purse here. Un momento, por favor. Wow. Okay, here it is, of course, right here. It's a little blue book that I actually got from someone who gave me edibles not too long ago. But we move forward, we digress. It's a little blue book. And in it, I'm writing down all the goals I have for this year. A lot of it is within this podcast. I've had a lot of new fans. I've had a lot of new people watching me weekly who tell me that they watched this episode. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know you listened to my podcast. And so I'm so grateful for everybody listening to me. This is my passion and it's not easy starting off. And I don't have a lot of viewers. Like I want to get higher and I want to get better and I'm learning as I go. And this year I have so many goals for myself. And according to my counselor, these are pretty doable. Okay. The first one is to get that job. Okay. I was talking to my girl today, Fee, and I hope she's listening. I love you, girl. And she was like, yeah, I listened to your podcast. I know you want to get that Burgle job. And she was like giving me options. And I do want to say that, I have been applying and I'm not going to like say the name of the place just yet. But I'm really excited and I hope I get the job that I deserve. Second is to start selling sex toys. If you remember on a previous episode, I talked to a woman named Danielle Crisp and she was telling me about how she reviews sex toys. So I'm going to be actually starting to do a review on sex toys and I just write a detailed review and they pay me on PayPal. It's a whole thing. I'm not going to tell you more about that till I know more about that because I never tell you something that I don't know a good significant amount about. You know what I mean? I don't want to do that. Then I also want a sponsor for this podcast. Now, say this podcast is still going good, going strong, and I start doing those reviews, I can use my podcast as a sponsor for them, even to get them to make them more money. So that's exciting. I also really want to start a sex education program to get more education because I educate myself on this as I go. I do my research as I go. I remember what I have from school. I've gained the skills. And obviously I don't have a graduate's degree. I just have two bachelor's degrees. So I have to work with what I got. And I love learning. On top of that, learning idea, I want to read more educational books. Duh. That goes hand in hand. I want to learn more. I want to know more because when I know stuff, I feel powerful. And there's nothing better than feeling powerful. Because people already think that I know all this shit. And I'm like, do I? Imposter syndrome. I do know this shit. I'm talking to you about it every time I come on here. God damn it. Our nully poo. I'm so weird. Secondly, I also want to think about moving out. I say think. Plan it. Is it going to work out? When I do, how is it going to work? Stuff like that. I want to get my finances in check. I got credit cards to pay off. I got things like that to really to focus on, and I'm going to set my mind to that. I'm going to start a business. I'm going to start a business Facebook and Instagram page, possibly Twitter X. That's an easy one, and that'll just be another thing I add to my dot card. Okay. Then I want to go pole dancing. I want to go pole dancing so bad to bring out my intersexuality. It's so powerful, so amazing. Again, about bringing the sensual sexuality back without there being penetration. You could be a sexual person. I was talking to my friend KK about it. She defines herself as very sexual. Her man's also defines herself as very sexual, and she fucking fiends off of it and thrives off of it, and so does he. And she just is God-forsakingly gorgeous inside and out for bringing out her sexuality in a positive, non-toxic way. Love you, girl. Belly dancing too. Bring out the the hips don't lie. Starting to feel fun. Anyways, I also want to own my car. I only own like a little bit left on my car, so woohoo. And I want to have more side hustles, and that involves sex toys. That involves selling bottles and going to pick them up, whatever it may be. So that was how I started my new year, by writing this stuff down. I had an awesome Christmas as well, and that kind of brings me to today's topic, and you're like, what? So my mom gets our family a gag gift every year. And my gag gift this year was a stuffed vagina. Well, it's a uterus. The vagina would be down here. But I just wanted to show you guys. It's all labeled so you guys can see. And when I do a demonstration, I will show you. I was ecstatic to receive this. I wanted to call her Enda because it's like Enda, like Linda, Enda. It's like ASMR. Anyways, Enda will be my best friend. So today's topic is going to be about endometriosis, and I'm going to kind of do a mini series here about endometriosis and PCOS. The next episode will be about PCOS, and I will go into that in more detail because I want to make sure each episode isn't too much, and you can get this and take this information in at little bits and pieces at a time. Because for me, I get overwhelmed, and I need to just take it in at bits and pieces at a time. So endometriosis is a disorder of the uterus, and it's common in 1 in 10 women, so it affects over 200 million people. And like I said, Enda has endometriosis. This is an endometriosis uterus. So I'm going to go through the actual anatomy on here. I'm going to point to it. Now you cannot see because my camera, also a goal to get a better camera, for real, to get a better camera, better setup in general. Anyways, so I'm going to go through that, and then I'm also going to talk about the symptoms. I'm going to talk about the theories and causes that, again, if nothing's proven, because we don't know. Sometimes not even a X-ray or MRI can find endometriosis, and that's scary. We have to go basically by some guesses and by other people's symptoms that are similar. And then I'm going to explain to you what exactly is happening during endometriosis. What is this? And then I'm going to kind of bring it all back together. So, like I said, it's a chronic inflammatory disease. Okay, it basically has growths on the uterine tissue, and that causes irritation, that causes bleeding, and these tissues also are causing lesions. Okay, and these lesions form cysts, and these cysts is endometriosis. These are endometriotrian, and that is an endometriotrian cyst. And these cysts form all around the uterine. Again, I'm gonna show you this more in depth. I'm just explaining it to you. These cysts form all around the uterine lining, outside the uterine lining, on other organs, stuff like that. And it does not just affect the uterus. Okay, it affects other organs in the bladder and stuff like that because it spreads. Okay. And you're gonna have pain, you're gonna have constipation, sex is going to be painful, which also gets confused with PCOS. So again, we will talk about the differentiation in the next episode. You're gonna get pain sometimes, like in your back, like period symptoms, and that sucks as a woman because things go back and back, and you don't know whether like it's this, that, or the other, and that's what becomes like all women are hypochondriacs. I feel like when it comes to any type of like pain, like oh my god, like what is it this time? You know, God, you go through so much, guys. Ugh. All right, trying to keep on track here. I wrote notes to make sure because someone listened to my podcast said I go everywhere, so I'm like trying to stay on topic here. Okay. Right. The causes. All right. So people think, and people have researched and come up with an analysis and a theory that so when you're menstruating, right? Because this is the uterus right here. So we already covered that. So you can take that off, right? This right here is the uterus, and that is where the blood flows out of. Okay. They think that in menstruation, which I like to call a false period, it's going through your fallopian tubes, not down throughout, okay, where a normal period would shed. It's going through there, okay? And it's called retrograde menstruation, meaning it's not going forward, it's going backwards. But I call it a false period because retrograde menstruation sounds too fancy, and I can't. Okay. And so that's kind of crazy, don't you think? Like I call it a false period. I'm trying to explain this better. Okay. So blood comes normally outside of here. The blood's flowing into here. Okay. And with that, multiple endocysts are being formed, and they react to our hormones that we have during our period. So they'll come during this, these symptoms will come during a regular period. And these cysts, these endos that are forming all around, okay, are actually getting larger and larger and larger, and they shed. And that's what you're going to think is your period, but it's not. It's going to come with immense, heavy pouring. It's going to come with like a lot of pain, a lot of nausea, loss of appetite, stuff like that. And every single cycle, they grow larger and larger and larger. And you can go in there through surgery, and surgery is really just to fix those lesions that form. The bleeding in multiple spots because irritation occurs, right? These cysts are formed, irritation occurs, you're bleeding all throughout your entire body. That's going to cause different organs. That's going to cause burning, irritation. That's bad. Okay, so this is the uterine lining, okay? An endometrium, that's what it's called. On the left here, these little things on the sides where I say that I think as a theory, the blood flows backwards. Those are called fallopian tubes, which is what the egg travels through, okay? So right here is a fallopian tube, okay? These white things are the ovaries, okay? This is an ovary, okay? It's magnetic. Oh, geez. It's magnetic. It comes apart. I love this thing so much. Thank you, Mom. Thank you. I love it. I love it so much. Seriously, my favorite gift. Anyways, that was weird, wasn't it? Anyways, ovaries. And then, remember when I talked about the false period or retrograde menstruation? Well, that little thing right there would be an example of it. Okay? It flowed through the fallopian tube, got onto the ovary, caused retrograde menstruation, and that leads to what is called adhesions. And that is what that purple thing is, connecting the fallopian tube and ovary. Where am I? This is not good. This is why infertility happens, okay? If it's in a false shape and these adhesions are forming, the egg cannot go through. It cannot get to where it needs to get to. And surgery, you could try to fix these, but it leads to problems. First surgery could lead to infertility. So these are, so this is retrograde. I cannot see. This, if you can see on the back, this is retrograde menstruation. These are those cysts that are forming that are bleeding constantly during what would be your regular period, and they're just forming irritations. And now these little adhesions are being formed, and this can connect other organs together. So it can connect your organ to your uterus, stuff like that. Right now it's connecting the fallopian tube to the ovaries. This is not good. Not good. See? This, it can't do what it's got to. This side, it can do what it's got to do, you know? Okay, reconnect. Whatever. But this side, it cannot do what it's got to do. The eggs got to go. The sperm's got to get to the egg, and it cannot do what it needs to do if there's adhesions there. So again, let's go over it. This is the uterus. This is where the blood normally flows out of. These on the sides are the fallopian tubes. Okay, these little white balls are the ovaries, and these little red spots too, I don't know if I went over that, are more of those like adhesions, lesions, cysts, endometriosis all over being formed, and those are what sheds all, and that's what gives you the theory that those are just, this sheds up, forms these, it sheds down, and it's like you have your period, but you don't. And again, it comes with immense pain. This purple place is called an adhesion, which endometriosis forms, and the fallopian tube is connected to the ovary, and this is causing infertility, and this can happen with other organs. Down here it would be the cervix and the vagina, but it's not the whole thing. But still, it's a stuffed uterus, and I love it. Enda is now her name. So I know that was like an abundance of information. Like, holy shit, Natalie, you just threw a lot at me. Feel free to rewatch it. Okay? Feel free. Again, I want to keep these episodes short because I give so much information, and I want to make sure you guys are actually listening and don't get bored with my voice, because sometimes I get bored with my voice. But this episode was super fun. You know, you got to meet Enda. You got to see my whole new setup, and it's gonna get better and better because I'm gonna have my friend Evan come over when we were exchange Christmas presents, and we're gonna figure out, make sure this microphone stands actually like in the right position. I'm gonna get the little cover for it, that little cover thing that you see in a lot of things, and work to just keep educating myself and educating you guys. And again, I'm not just regurgitating information to you guys. I know this stuff, but I gotta like double check, you know, sometimes, like, we're human. And some things I just learned by continuing to read and educate myself, and I just attach it to what I know, and boom, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. But thank you for listening to Talking About the Taboo with Natalie Malloy, and remember to always communicate. Love you guys.